record. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. The Compassionate California Leadership City Organizers team here. We'll call you all a team because that's really essentially what you are. And I just want to thank you for making this call. And should anybody else dial in, we will just welcome them in a pause. So one of the objectives of this call was to not only, well, it was a long overdue call. Laura Hansen will tell you early on when Compassionate California was just forming, this was an intention, and we had held a couple of calls just like this with the idea of bringing the voice of all the different cities together, because this isn't about Compassionate California's work, it's about your work. And the idea of Compassionate California, I'll just take a very quick moment and refresh those of you who know and tell those of you who don't. The idea of Compassionate California came out of a women's interfaith organization, one that I'm very much involved with. When we had heard about what it meant to be a city of compassion, this was meant about perhaps even longer than 5 years ago. And so we went out seeking to see what it meant to be a city of compassion. And at the time, there really wasn't even a website or a whole lot of information. And had there been, it would have changed a couple of times until it's the organization that you see it today. But at any rate, at that time, we said, well, let's do a city of compassion now that we kind of know what it means. And but we couldn't decide whose city to do because our women from our group are all over California. So we said, well, let's just do them all until we can say we live in a state of compassion. And the idea and the vision was to help encourage and support cities of compassion all over California and just be a kind of a repository for what's happening in California, maybe an intra-network. We're not separate from the Charter for Compassion. We're a region of the Charter for Compassion, and it really we've actually set a model for the Charter for Compassion to take this model in other places. Compassion of Botswana soon emerged. There's and I think Laura Hansen also has modeled this. I'm not suggesting we were an inspiration. I think it was just a natural progression, or perhaps you were already in this was already an idea of yours to create a compassionate region, of capital region. So the idea of this is such a new thing, and it really is requiring a new creative way of being together in the world, that we are just kind of building the ship as we go along, but holding tight to the vision and the values of compassion and some of those basic tenets, and what you'll find in the toolkit of what it means to be a city of compassion. So again, we're just here to support and highlight and better amplify. Marilyn Turkovich, the executive director, is thrilled beyond measure that we're serving in this capacity. It takes a little bit of pressure off of her because we can tell her what's happening in your city too if you don't get around to it. And that's very helpful. So that is, what's happening in California, a little bit about what's happening around the world. And this is one thing I wanted to share with you, and then I'll stop talking and we'll hear from you. In the chart, because of this growing organism that's very natural and organic in nature, it became very clear that the cities of compassion needed its own organizational body to nurture and support it. And it's, while again still being part of the City of Compassion, the Charter for Compassion initiative, the International Center for Compassionate Cities is now being developed. It's going to be hosted out of a team that's led by Mayor Fisher out of Louisville. However, it's not a part of Compassionate Louisville. It just happened to have grown out of Louisville, which so many inspirations do. So leadership is now being developed, and it's now being organized, and this is probably just sort of letting the cat out of the bag, and it might be within the year that you might be hearing about it. But with that said, just to know that this growing organism body, this natural thing that we are all building together, is developing in new creative and empowering ways, where this International City of Center for Compassionate Cities, otherwise known as IC3, kind of times 3, the C's times 3, IC3, is going to be bringing us really powerful, better models, as well as impact matrices. Like, so we'll have actual skills and tools, I beg your pardon, and measurement tools to measure the impact and to amplify that, which will also help you tremendously in your fundraising. So that's really exciting to see. And so that's really all I can say about IC3, because it is just being developed now. So I just want to let you know kind of a little glimpse into the future of what to expect with IC3. And also, I would hope that perhaps we can keep in mind what it might mean to host these sort of calls on a monthly or a quarterly basis, depending on what you find and how inspirational and helpful you find that they are. So with that said, I think I'm complete. Did I introduce myself? I'm Sandy Hart. I don't know. Maybe you assume that from all the emails you've gotten from me. And I'm with Compassionate California. Let me just stop in. A couple new callers have dialed in. Who's calling in from the 310 area code? That sounds like Laura O'Connor.
Hi, Sandy. It's Laura. Yeah, good morning.
Good
Laura
morning.
from Compassionate California.
Oh, wonderful. Good, Laura. We'll hear from you in just a little bit. Welcome. And who's calling in from 909?
I had to go off for a minute, and I came back in.
Oh, okay.
This is Dick Bunce.
Okay, you're Dick, right? Okay, great. And you're from Pomona.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm just naming you on the screen here. Okay, very good. Well, so let's start. Let's just, with the 45 minutes that we have remaining, why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? And why don't you start with, of course, who you are and what city and region you are with, a little status of that. But first, tell us what inspired you why are you even here? Why did you step into the work of a compassionate city or region? Why don't we start with you, Laura? We'll go around with, I think, who is here first.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, sure.
I'm sorry,
I live in
Laura.
Southern California.
Oh, go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry. I should have identified
No, it's
Laura.
fine.
Go right ahead, Laura.
Yeah, that would be good. No, go do what you were going to do. That's beautiful.
Yeah, because I'm saving you for last. Because I want you to sum up what's happening with California, too.
It's fine. Yeah, we can just identify ourselves by initial. I'm Laura O.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Laura H.
Okay. Hi, Laura O.
Good morning.
Laura H. Laura Hansen from Sacramento. And this is being part of creating a caring community is a vision that I've had since I was about 14 years old, which is why I continue to stay in Sacramento, even though I had lots of offers to leave. And so where I was reintroduced to Charter for Compassion about 4 years ago by a friend of mine who had started Compassionate Sacramento, Yeshua Adonai. And there were a group of community leaders who were forming an organizing team for Compassionate Sacramento. As we got into it, we realized that because Sacramento is somewhat bound, because the greater Sacramento region is somewhat bound geographically and economically, we reorganized into Compassionate Capital Region, which includes 7 counties and over a dozen cities. And prior to that, once we got moving down the road a little bit with Compassionate Sacramento, kind of everyone in the organizing team decided that once they understood the commitment, they just couldn't do it. So it was left to myself and Yeshua, and then he moved and went on a year or 6-month trek. So he asked so I took it over and then reset it as Compassionate Capital Region, asked our regional peace activist, Joan Marie, if she would kind of relight the flame. And then from that point, it's been about 2.5 years, we've been socializing the concept, doing educational community meetings, meeting with other community stakeholders, and kind of forming relationships with the community foundation, business, nonprofit, civic leaders. And we've introduced the Compassion Games here. We had our first Compassion in Action event in one of the neighborhoods. We got a couple small grants from our fiscal sponsor. And what we're doing now is, with the help of Mayor Fisher, who had a phone call with our mayor, Daryl Steinberg. Daryl verbally agreed, yes, Sacramento should be a city of compassion. We had already sent a proposal and had been pinging Daryl at every chance we could. So he knew what we were up to. He knows about us. We've talked with him. So the plan is to connect with the mayor and form a plan for Sacramento being the first city of compassion in our region. In the meantime, we're kind of expanding from our 50 or so community members kind of past that, and working with a couple other cities to come on board. Both Joan and I were and probably are maybe honorary team members of Compassionate California. We, at least for my part, knew that the best service I could be to Compassionate California is to focus on Compassionate Capital Region. So that's what we've been doing. And tonight we're going to the City Council meeting to do a 2 or 4 minute kind of hello to the council, so that we're out in public rather than just talking kind of behind the scenes with the mayor, even though most of the city council members have received the proposal. So we're just keep plugging away at it until we have a plan with the mayor's office, and then we'll continue to roll on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. We're so excited. You're such a model organizing committee. Okay, let's move on. The next person who was here was Reverend Jan Chase.
Hey.
Hi, Reverend. Hi, Jan.
How are you all? It's great to see you and to see so many from our group as well as learn from other groups. We knew some of the people that are involved, like you, Sandy, in Compassionate City work before we went to the Parliament of the World's Religions, and then we went to your workshop there and other workshops talking about compassionate cities. And when we came home, and there were 26 of us that went to the Parliament in Salt Lake, and we just were on fire. This is what we wanted to do, was to put compassion in action in our cities, but we were from about 6 cities. So it was, it's been an exciting time. We've had monthly meetings for over 1.5 years. And sometimes it feels like we kind of get stalled because it's such a huge project. And since we have so many cities, people from so many cities involved, it's hard to focus enough to get really tracking, if you understand what I mean by that. But we have a lot of energy. We have a lot of people. We have made contact with a number of the mayors in our region, including Pomona, we have probably the most people from Pomona of anywhere. And so we're moving ahead. Laura Burgess has recently joined us, and she's familiar with the upper levels of this work as well, and is helping us kind of move into work at the mayor's levels and the city council levels. We're also working with Pomona Unified School District. We've got people on fire to get compassionate work into our school systems, and we've got 5 or 6 different options or ways that the school district is willing to help us or work with us. And so it's just a question of which ways do we start and how do we get that done. So that's kind of where we are right now.
It's such an honor to watch you grow over the years, Jan. I just, I just really, I don't know if proud is the word, but really impressed. How about that?
Well, I have a model to look at, you, Sandy.
Yeah, well, you're too generous, Jan. Jan's a friend. We have to, full disclosure here. I've known and loved Jan for many, many, many years. Before we move on to Laura, let me just say hello to Girish Shah. And we'll come back to you, Girish. Girish is in Silicon Valley, and there are 3 of you on this call that are representing entire regions, large regions. So perhaps the 3 of you might convene a call sometime when your time permits to kind of explore some best practices on how you're doing that, because you've taken on quite a bite there. So we'll come back to you, Girish. Can't wait to hear what you have to say and how things are going there. Laura Burgess, Laura B. Sorry, we got 3 Lauras on the call today.
Sandy. I'm wondering if there's something special about the Lauras. We'll have to discuss.
It's a very compassionate name, apparently.
Right. So my name is Laura Burgess, and I'm an academic. And I'm taking a sabbatical right now to work on a book on compassionate leadership. I was introduced to the Charter for Compassion through Joan Brown Campbell and James Doty, who are leaders with the board, and the work that I've done in the classroom and in university leadership has always been about values-based education. And so I see for me, what I think Cindy's question was, why are we here and so forth. That compassion vein for me is really steeped in our education system and how we inspire and empower our youth and our young adults and all of us to take action. So it's been a real blessing for me to get involved with the Charter for Compassion and the cities, because I see a relationship between higher education, the K-12 and the K-20 system, and our community leaders. So lots of great work. The group that Jan and Dick have pulled together and have worked tirelessly is a really phenomenal group. And it's a pleasure to be a Claremont resident and getting our own community involved in the effort as well. So that is why I'm here.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad you're here. You're really, provide important information and a really great perspective. I should have mentioned, I also work very closely as a volunteer staff at the Charter for Compassion International, also helping out with their cities initiative, but also I run the women and girls sector of the 12 sectors. I run the 12th sector, which brings us to Joan Marie, who is one of our lead ambassadors at Compassionate California Charter for Compassion Women and Girls, but also part, like you heard earlier, with Laura. So let's hear from you, Joan.
Thank you. I'm up here in Sacramento and part of Compassionate Capital Region. And right now we're working with Shift Network and some other organizations. And I am coordinating a 4th of July celebration called Interdependence Day. And Sandy has blessed me as an ambassador to have a red tent. So I'm super excited about that. And we're, gathering, we were hoping to have the mayor on board by July, but what we're hoping is that we can just coordinate something where we can stay just in process and not feel like anything's rushed and just keep moving forward. So hopefully we'll find out within the next couple weeks about that. And I would like to just mention that Girish, I go down, my family's in Silicon Valley in Santa Clara. And so I'd love to get your information and meet with you sometime because I'm down there quite a bit. So thank you.
I would love to.
Perhaps we can share information. I'll ask for everybody's permission then to send out your contact because I've been blind copying everybody. Thank you, Joan. I know there's so much more to hear from you.
You have my permission.
Thank you, Girish. You've always been so generous. Let's go over to Annette in Fremont. Hi, Sister Annette.
Hi, Sandy and everyone else. Sandy, Fremont has only one E in it.
Oh, you're right.
We had that problem with the international charter too. But anyway, it's just one E. Thank you.
Okay, I'll fix it at the charter too.
I think it is fixed already.
Okay, great. We just think of you as free.
We are free. I came across...
You should change the name to Fremont to double E. So it's a Fremont, you know.
Sorry, Girish.
I was just saying you should change the name of Fremont to double E, you know, FREE, so it's really free.
And it'll make it easy for everyone, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's named after a person whose name was Fremont. So.
Okay.
I came across the charter, the international charter, in about 2009 or 10 when I was preparing for an Earth Day celebration as a chaplain in an assisted living community. And I immediately signed on. It was like 92,000 signatures at that point. It was just individual signatures. And I was very intrigued by the whole concept of Karen Armstrong. And as a chaplain, I was responsible for the health and spiritual well-being, of all of the residents and all of the staff and their families. And being a Roman Catholic nun in that position, maybe 40% of the residents were Catholic and maybe 2% of the staff were Catholic. So I had the other 60 and 98% that I was concerned about. And I joined the Tri-City Interfaith Council. The Tri-Cities represent Fremont, Newark, and Union City. And during that time, I was invited to a video, a documentary that was made by the Harvard School of Plurality. And I think this documentary is probably about 15 years old now, but it zeroed in on Fremont because of its size and its diversity. And I was extremely impressed how the then mayor and council and Human Relations Commission were really bending over backwards to make people from all over the world feel welcome there. So when the summer of 2013 came around and the invitation went out for cities to claim the title of compassion, I said, Fremont already is. We don't need to do anything because it's been living as a compassionate city from its inception.
53 seconds.
I didn't know. And so I took it to the Tri-City Interfaith Council and they said, go ahead. So there were 4 of us that acted as a coordinating committee. We first went to the chief of the police, and then we met with the mayor, and then we met with the Human Relations Commission. And we actually began, I would say, grassroots. Our goal was to share the word and to get as many people involved as possible. So the Human Relations Commission, the next thing was we started collecting ambassadors, people who were intrigued by the idea and wanted to help, so we called them ambassadors. And at one of our ambassador trainings, it was decided that Fremont needed its own charter. So we edited the original charter somewhat to make it more Fremont friendly. And then we took that out and started collecting signatures. So on the 60th anniversary of the incorporation of Fremont as a city, which was January of 2016, the mayor and the council actually did sign our charter into a compassionate city. The charter was put in a time capsule, which is to be opened in another 40 years. So that will be interesting for people of that generation to see what they have to say about it. And then it seemed to me that what we had was like a skeleton. And many of the people that we spoke to said, well, what does this mean? What will it do for us? How will this happen? And so I think things, as Sandy says, they move organically. And so the next thing that came about with the election of our new federal administration, there was somewhat angst among people. And so we prepared a statement that we gave to the city council, which really described a sanctuary city, but we were avoiding the term sanctuary because we didn't want to bring down the wrath of the federal government on the city. And we were claiming it as that this is what Compassionate Fremont is about. And so we named it Compassionate Fremont. But the city council actually took it another step and said that they wanted the term sanctuary. And I feel that by adopting this philosophy, it's like putting flesh on the bones that were created with the signing of our charter. And so that's what we're about.
That's really beautiful, Sister Annette. Thank you so much. And then you also now are a part of Compassionate Silicon Valley. And I remember I came up. No, you're not? You're not part of that? Oh, no. You're a challenger.
Yes, Fremont wants to challenge Silicon Valley. We want this friendly competition.
Co-opetition.
We're certainly together in spirit.
That's right.
Just to build the morale of our groups, we want to be in co-opetition, right?
I love it. I love it. So for everybody else, I just want to let you know, I went up to Fremont and talked to the group, and that same day, Garish and his team were hosting Chief Phil Lane, and they were launching the Compassion Games, and which we can take just a second to talk about at the end of the call. And so it was on. Right? It was game on, right? I love it. I love how the games really inspire us and kind of poke us in a different way to get to that creative tension to get going on things. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go down. Let's go over to Sonoma. Cynthia Young. She's calling in.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi,
I just
welcome.
took you off mute. Thank you. Let's see, I started with the Charter of Compassion. I was introduced to it at the Fetzer, through the Fetzer organization and the Fetzer gathering in 2012. And one of the things that was looking at was how different organizations can collaborate, and then particularly how religions can. So in 2014, I joined the Charter for Compassion in the Arts, and then a year later, I moved up to Sonoma and found Sonoma was already a very compassionate place. Although it wasn't labeled, and so through the Ministerial Alliance, Sonoma joined the city's for Compassion. I think that was in 2015. Since then, what we're taking is sort of a different approach. Really more of a grassroots. The first thing we did was start a website and a Facebook. And we started looking around our community, trying to catch people in the act of being compassionate, and then doing a story about it, and trying to share the stories among the different communities within Sonoma as a city, and also the Sonoma County and Sonoma Valley. So we've had sort of a slow growth, but it's been one of the things that we're trying to do now is try to find a way to make this sustainable. And one of the first areas we talked about was the environment, compassion for the environment. And we have Jack London Park and several the Sonoma Ecology Centers, and we're creating what sort of a messaging campaign through using QR photographs and stories throughout the park, throughout Sonoma, where people can get more information on what is the site that they're at, whether it's the Labyrinth at Trinity or something in Jack London Village, and then have the opportunity to purchase, for example, a photograph of the Labyrinth. And then that photograph of the Labyrinth, it will connect up to the marketplace, the Charter for Compassion marketplace. But part of the proceeds will go to help support and sustain the Compassionate Sonoma effort. So, and we're just in the process of putting up the gallery. We have a lot of interest, and we're trying, again, we're trying to get more people to understand what compassion is, to recognize it, and then trying to let people know how they're already doing some of it and how they can, and then it's like we're looking at process improvement in terms of what are we doing, how can we do more of that, what are we doing, where are the obstacles, how can we, overcome those with training and education. And that's it.
Wow, that's wonderful. Let me know how your gallery is coming and if there's an online presence, did you say?
Yeah, there will be, probably by the end of this week. Yeah.
Well, perhaps we can amplify that through our network, and I know that the Charter for Compassion also can. Perhaps there might be something we can do through the marketplace too at the Charter for Compassion.
Yeah, we were going to go on the link to the marketplace so that part of the funds will help support Charter for Compassion, and then some of the funds will also support a local enterprise that is compassionate.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, that's wonderful. That's great. Okay, good. So make sure to let me know on that. And it really is, what I'm hearing, the thread I'm hearing here is that it's really the journey. It's not the destination here, isn't it? It's the process. Jan, you guys are a city, you are a region of compassion, because the process of getting that affirmation or living into it is what it's really all about. Finding your way, navigating your way through compassion, and discovering how much more compassion our city can use and how we each individually can use it. A compassionate city is an uncomfortable city indeed. So thank you all. Okay, Girish, can't wait to hear from you from Silicon Valley. I've known Girish for many years through the Compassion Games. You're muted. Let me unmute you. There you go. You're good.
Good morning, everybody. I am, of course, from Silicon Valley. And Annette, the Fremont city claims itself to be part of Silicon Valley. So you have to be, a little bit careful, say we are not Silicon Valley, because your mayor wouldn't like it.
I think that's a challenge.
We have a new mayor, Garish.
Uh-huh.
We have a new mayor.
Oh, okay. He may not still like it because, everybody wants to be part of Silicon Valley. Anyway, my introduction to Karen Armstrong was a long time ago. I can't even remember when she visited Stanford, and there were some meetings in Stanford with James Doherty. They were trying to raise money for Charter for Compassion. And I was able to meet her then. And so I was intrigued from then on. Then I became part of Silicon Valley Interreligious Council between 2009, 10, 11, 12. And we were the parliament's partner city, inaugural partner city, declared in Melbourne Parliament. And as we found out about the Compassion Games, we started to play Compassion Games. Last year, when we were planning for Compassion Games, I came up with a thought that why don't we, there was a thought that we will go to the cities and get cities to sign the charter and make the cities compassionate. I came up with the idea that why don't we look at how many cities are in Santa Clara County? And there were 15 cities in the county. And I said, why don't we go and declare all of the 15 cities to declare themselves and sign the charter, and of course the county itself. So we have been able to take the first step. We had grassroots effort copied from Fremont. Sister Annette came to our meetings, and we said, hey, nothing wrong with copying somebody. So we had that at the last year's Compassion Games period in Mountain View. And then this year, our president of the Board of Supervisors, Dave Cortese, in his speech of the state of the county, declared that this is the year of compassion, because he's been familiar with compassion in the Charter for Compassion and his activities. In fact, last year he declared the period of September 11 to 21 as Compassion Days in the county. So when he had done that, I said, hey, why don't you sign the charter? And he says, okay. So we were able to submit the charter to them to sign. And they accepted the charter as it was. The legal accepted the charter as it was without making any change. And it was passed unanimously by the Board of Supervisors and adopted. And they, in turn, they said, we call upon Silicon Valley Interreligious Council to create a stewardship group that will carry this mentor and create. And of course, they also said they call upon all 15 cities to sign the charter. So that's all part of official resolution. And so we are now in the process, a little slow, but we are in the process of trying to create the stewardship group that includes everybody, not just religious groups, non-religious groups, county, cities, civic and businesses, etc. So education, everybody needs to be included in there to make that, because the Santa Clara County is a sanctuary county, and they have filed lawsuits against the federal government, and one stays. So we are very much a compassionate Santa Clara County, compassionate Silicon Valley. It's just that now, so many things are happening, and that's one of my problems. So many things are happening, and so everybody I touch say, hey, can you work on the compassion cities? And they say, we're doing all these things. We don't have time for adding any more to it. So I have to now find somebody who is not doing anything and have them be engaged. And that's the challenge, is because everybody is doing, from our beloved community to protect the community, etc., etc. They are doing all kinds of active, compassionate actions. So anyway, that's where we are. We have the county already adapted it, and then hopefully we'll get at least before the September Compassion Gates, get few of the cities to agree to sign it, so that we can start to march toward getting all 15 of them.
Thank you, Girish. You know, that's a challenge that we see all around the world is naturally this work requires, you know, community builders and those who are in the habit of getting out into their community and doing good work, right? Or have the heart for it. And those typically are the busiest people. So our challenge is always, how do we encourage those people who are doing the great work to continue doing their great work, and just keeping and layering the Charter for Compassion under it or over it or through it. So we're not asking anybody to do really anything new, because we want them to do what they're doing, but do it along with us, or let us do it along with them. That's a new dynamic. That's a hard concept to grasp, that in the operations of the work that you're doing, think about that. How can somebody who's very busy doing what they're doing continue doing it, but still be a part of your energy and your effort?
I mean, that is one of the thoughts we have, like various groups that are in the Silicon Valley who are doing all these compassionate actions. And, you know, specifically, we're trying to bring them or have a representative from that organization be part of the stewardship group. And thereby, you know, we are coordinating, because what we can offer is a platform to publicize their activities, and hopefully some cross-pollination, and people from different areas would participate with them. So that would be their incentive, and more people would know about it and participate in their activity. So that is one of our thoughts that we will do. And that's why actually I put in this thing about stewardship group, which I copied from someone. I think one of the cities had, you know, Dallas or Fort Worth, where they had the county city assign the stewardship group responsibility to the interfaith group there. And so anyway, I have no problem plagiarizing when it comes to compassion activities.
Please do. Please do. Look at Dallas Fort Worth, at dallasdfw.org when you all get a chance. It's a wonderful model of a city of compassion.
Before I go, because I got to go, as I said to you, Sandy, is who is the third person from Silicon Valley who's on the call? You say you're three of you from the area.
No, not Silicon Valley, that are doing regional work. We're not just focused on an individual city, but regional work. Actually, there's more, because Pomona is represented here well here. There's a number of folks here on the call that we're going to hear from next, but also Laura Hansen up in Capital Region, and Joan Marie, who works with her, but she had to get off the call. So I'll do my best to make those introductions in a separate email. The other folks who called in, including you, Rose, I don't know if there's something you'd like to share, and if you have any comments or questions about what the work that you're doing and with Jan, or.
Thank you.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sandy, for putting this up, and I'm listening. And what I have in mind of contributing is I will work with the Pomona Unified School District, and I would like to be part of the compassion game introduction to the teachers in the school of Pomona this coming fall. So I think I will need the help in training on how to engage the kids into the compassion games.
I think Rose just threw down the gauntlet. I think we are all playing in the compassion games. I'll take that as an opportunity to present the games at another time. Perhaps another call we can do. You can bring some folks in, anybody who wants to come and hear about the compassion games and how they're a phenomenal way of engaging your community, but so great to bring it to the schools. So Rose, I'm so happy to know that. And I'll also make sure John Raymer is on that call. He's the founder and the creative genius of the games. So well, thank you. Okay, good. Now we have somebody calling in from 916. I'm sorry, I just noticed. Who is this? 916-802.
Oh, that's me, Joan. I just came back in.
Oh, you did say you were going to do that. Okay, great. Welcome back. Good. Okay. And Jeanette, is it Jeanette or Dick? I know, Dick, you said you wanted to be in listen mode, but at least let me give you this opportunity before we move on to to Compassionate California's Laura O'Connor.
Okay, I'm glad Rose mentioned the compassion games in the schools. I think that we're finding that to be a good way to put our oar in the water initially. And the Pomona Unified School District is serving a community that is, fairly large and complex and has its challenges. So I think Pomona is a good place to start within our region. And I think that we'll want to move to getting city support from the city council, from the mayor. We've already made some soundings, but that hasn't been firmed up. And I think that's important because compassion is a very, as Greg Fisher says, a valid basis for public policy. I mean, what better foundation for public policy can we find than compassion? So I would like to see it move beyond the schools and really create a strong beachhead in the city itself, the city politics, city council, etc.
And you should all know that the Compassion Games has a city league, and so there you can actually co-optate with cities not only within California but also all around the world during the games. And there are also a series of games that are played in December, the Giving Games, because a lot of teachers find September a difficult time to play. So we created the league for the city, for the schools and youth to play in December, which is a nice twist on the holiday season. Rather than getting, it's about giving. So we'll have a call around this. I'll recommend that we all come back together for a call and have John and also his partner at the Summer, who will be the best to talk more about that. Well, thank you, Dick. Jeanette, did you have anything you wanted to share before we move on to Laura?
Actually, thank you. This is Jeanette. And actually, I just intended to be a listener this morning. But listening, I'm glad I was on the call because I learned a lot. And what I did learn, and I want to share this, is that it appears that everyone is unique in their own way and within their own cities. And I could believe that because each city has their different needs, but the bottom line or the thread is doing it with compassion. And I was glad to hear from the last, I can't remember his name, but the young man who met Karen Armstrong some years ago from Silicon Valley, that he is... he shared with, I'm walking away with the fact that the challenges for each person or individual who's interested in compassionate, they're already doing what they're doing. I was glad to hear him say that it is a challenge, and the fact that we have to find a way to come together to bring this to the minds that we are already doing compassionate things. But how do we get that message out? And I'm thinking, just listening to him, if we can get a commitment from each of the individual groups or organization that's already doing compassionate things, because many of us are. And that's why we actually, the term or the language compassionate is, everybody wants to be compassionate. Everybody wants to do right. So I just came up with the idea. I'm listening to him and I said, well, maybe we can get just a commitment. And I'm speaking from me, myself, being involved in the community or community activist. I can give Reverend Jan a commitment that whatever the organization that I belong to, that we will be committed, or I will make sure that I mention this to the members, that we must be committed to be compassionate in whatever or however we do, whatever we do. And I still will be connected to Reverend Jan's body in terms of being a part of the Compassionate Cities. But it's a challenge for someone who's already active in the community. But I do want to make or say that I will make a commitment to the members that I represent, that we must be compassionate. And I appreciate being on the call this morning. That's what I'm walking away with.
Well, you have 12 witnesses accepting your commitment. And by the way, Jeanette, what you're really talking about, it sounds like, is the partners, the charter partners. And those of you, I'm sure you all know what a charter partner is. And I recommend that you all start developing those partnerships in your community. And they go to the charter and they sign up to be a partner of compassion, and there you can choose which sector you're in, but you're still part of your region as well. And that I would encourage all of you, when you're looking around for the energy in your community, look and see who's the partner in your community. We're listing them on our website too, but you can also find them on the charter site. We just bring them all down from every time somebody joins on as a Compassionate California partner or a partner within California, the address in California, I get copied on that. That also goes on our site. So go and look and see who's a partner in your community. There's your energy. So thank you, Jeanette. With the time that we have left, we want to hear from Laura O'Connor, and let me introduce you really quickly. In the very beginning of the call, Laura, and I think you may have missed this, I had mentioned that it was the Women's Interfaith organization that had originally come up with the idea of the Compassionate California, and we were stewards of this organizational body for a couple of years until we realized it really deserved its own level of leadership. It had outgrown what our group could, and we felt at the time was best to do. And it was like the next day that we had decided this, that I found myself at the Agape Spiritual Center standing next to Laura O'Connor, and she overheard this and she's like, I'm in. So Laura is really one of the very first, maybe the second leadership members who joined the newly formed Compassionate California, which has now been several years in the making. But anyway, let me introduce you to Laura, and I'll let you self-introduce. Laura O.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for everyone's amazing work over your lifetimes, first of all, and Sandy for your brilliant leadership in bringing forward Compassionate California. Just to respond to framing in the way you asked the question, what was my first interest and engagement with the charter? I actually was at the TED conference when Karen Armstrong was given the TED Prize, and was actively engaged with TED in the development of the mechanism that created the charter, and continued to do so over the years subsequent to that. And I was working with a digital startup at the time that offered some services. And then I was blessed to be in London during the School Forum and met with the folks that were doing partnerships, and actually brought Agape International on as a partner, and lots of other partners helped form some of the program for the Dalai Lama Center with Victor Chan, where the charter was actually launched once it was formed, and also participated in the 1-year anniversary at the UN when it was read. The charter was read by hundreds of folks all around the world. So I've been pretty active in the actual charter from Compassion since its beginning. And what attracted me and continues to is that, you know, the way I heard Karen Armstrong describe that it was seeking a solution for a problem around conflict. And that is something that in my work over decades of working with folks that are in conflict over polarities around social justice, racial justice, economic justice, gender justice, very much looking for ways for folks to see the other in themselves. And so I thought that the principle of compassion and the way that Karen was bringing it about for the 3 world religions globally could very much be applied to the work I was doing in the United States around bringing dissonant communities together around shared values and goals, but the perception of the otherness and the polarities is always getting so in the way that folks could not see themselves in each other. And I just thought this was brilliant. And so I was very involved in it in the first few years, and then got involved in some political campaigns, primarily with our past president. And then I met Sandy, and when she was talking about this, as I said, it was just already in my DNA, really, because we were at Agape, and Agape was one of the first partners, actually, one of the first domestic partners of the charter. So anyway, now our time is up on this meeting, but that's my introduction. And Compassionate California, what we're doing now, from my perspective, is really looking at, and I was delighted, I don't know how many of you all were in Louisville. I actually missed the Compassionate Cities panel because I had other business during that day, but looking at how are those principles really diving deep into the work, and how is it really helping to heal some of the deepest wounds we have in our culture and our society. And that's what I've been trying to help frame with Compassionate California, is how can we come up with some models that folks can use that really show the effectiveness of the work in real measurable ways in making change in communities. And so I'll leave it at that for now, and perhaps on a next call we can talk more about what Compassionate California is actually doing, because we're out of time. I have another call.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Laura. Yeah, thank you. And we knew this would be a good introduction call and an opportunity to just hear from everybody and learn something new and frame where we can go from here. So let's run a little bit over and just see how you feel on everybody here on the call. Just, poke up your hand or speak up, how you feel about another call in a month to hear about the games, and maybe we can start that call with Compassion California and some of the things that are coming up that can better support your work. Jan, you're muted here. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Jan.
Okay, so I just think it's a really good idea. I think this has been a fabulous call for me. I'm just delighted we have so many people on, although there might be others that would really like to be on as well. I'm wondering if a month is too long, but at least in a month, yes. And I would like, we're working on, building compassion games. So I may need to have some help from you individually to look at how to get that into the school system.
Okay, I know that that's a hot topic right now, and let's get started on that because it takes some time to prepare for that. So that seems to be an urgency. So, okay. Sister Annette?
No, I just would like to be in the conversation about the schools.
Okay, phenomenal. All right. So would you like to do this in a 2 weeks period? Is this good for you? Does that look good? Why don't I send out another doodle, and we'll set between 2 and 3 weeks, and I'll first get John Raymer's availability and put some options out to all of you. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay, good. And I'm also going to send out, does anybody here object to me sharing your email and your website information?
No problem.
Let me say, is anyone opposed? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
I think the ayes have it. All right. Well, my goodness, you guys, I've learned so much from all of you too, and it just warms my heart. And you've all articulated exactly why I'm here too, because I know that compassion is the clear, luminous, and dynamic force for our polarized world, and you are all the carriers of that torch. So thank you so much for being here. Laura, thank you. I'm so glad that you were able to be with us too. I know you are, and this is such important work. And we got some background. Okay, so shall we say goodbye? Farewell, everybody, at the same time?
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
I'll send you the recording. Bye, everybody.